The next thing we're going to have are the attributes that are in that class. And I'm going to indent them slightly so that I know they belong to the product class. And that's the description, the price, and the product ID. Alright, now the description is a string, the price is float, and the product ID is going to be an integer. Right. The description holds the description, the item description. The price holds the price of an item, and the product ID holds the ID of the product. Now, we're probably going to have some more, but until I get into the pseudocode and see what it is I have to do, I can't worry about that. All right. And so we're going to pull this over here. I can't get it over onto my other screen, right? There we go. Okay. The only other thing I see that we need is we need a count to keep track of the items of the products we create. So it contains count of the number of objects created. And then I see a string out, which is a local variable, and that's the other thing you have to get used to doing. These are class variables. They're all at the top. All right, now within the product, but in the local procedure, we also have local variables. Okay, so in the toString method, all right, that has to go back out, and then this can come in. We're going to have an str out, and that will be a string, and that will contain the output string, because remember we said we had to output it. All right, now how do I set these apart? Well, all right, this, since it's a separate method, all right, we're just going to use this. It'll be easiest. That way we know that that's a separate method. Okay, now we also have, if we go back over to our information, we also have a driver class. All right, and so that's what we're going to do next. Now this is our this contains the main method. All right, so we don't have to worry about, sorry about that. Right. We've had a main method in every one of our instances. That probably doesn't need to be that same color. Let me see. There we go. All right. Now, within the driver class, our only variables are products, product 1, I'm sorry, that's wrong, P1, which is an object, and it's an instance of the product class. P2, which is an object, which is an instance of the product class, and P3, which is an object, which is an instance of the product class. That's all we're worried about. Now, we also have the product class itself. All right. So I guess we'll put that in here too, and that is products no, that's not really a variable we need. It's touchy there. I'll explain that when we get to class. Okay, so now that we have those there, let's go back and let's look at the pseudocode. Now, for the pseudocode, all right, you're going to do two essentially separate pseudocodes. The first one will be for the product class, and the second one will be for the driver class. Because if you don't do two of them, you don't know what it is you're doing. You don't know which belongs to what, I guess is what I'm trying to say there. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do in the product class is create the constructor, define variables. All right, now we all know what class variables are. Those are the things that are available to every class. All right. Once we have the class variables defined, then we're going to create the constructor. Now, when we're looking at this, the constructor is going to have parameters, and those parameters are going to be coming into the class. It's how we're going to set our information up. So somewhere, either up here or in the pseudocode, you're going to list your parameters. I try to do it like the next thing over. I'll say parameters, description, in, price, in, product, ID, in. Now, you're going to notice that one of the things I do is put the word in after each one of these parameters. That way I know that they're an input parameter. They're the same items as the attributes, because what you're doing is you're using the parameters to set the attributes. But by using the word in, then I can distinguish from my attributes. Right? And then we're going to set the attributes equal to the parameters. This is supposed to follow right down, but of course it's not. All right. Now, and this is in the constructor. Okay. All right. Now, once we have the constructor, then we have to set up the output method, which we're going to use the toString method. So what we're going to say here is method toString. Oops, sorry about that. Okay. You can highlight the construct. I mean, you can highlight all of the method within one color. You can do anything you need to do to distinguish. One way to do it is to bold the method information. All right. So when we get in here, then we're going to define the local variables. We're going to build the output string, and we're going to return the output string. Okay. Now, what's the output string? The output string is going to consist of what is the current state of all of the variables in your class. We use a toString method because all objects automatically come with a toString method. In addition to which, we also use this to create, some books will call it tell about self. All right, and what that does is it simply tells about what the state of the object is. Right? It's useful for finding errors. It's also useful if you're just looking to output things, depending upon what your class actually does. All right, and then we're going to say create the standard methods. Now, standard methods are the gets and sets for each attribute. And you're going to see in Eclipse, it's very, very simple to do that. Now, this is the end of the documentation. So I'm going to save this as a separate video, and then we'll pick up with the coding on another video.